It's not yet dawn and you've already felt it. It wasn't a common thought. It was a pull, a restlessness that has no name, that doesn't correspond to any real problem in your life, but that insists on occupying space in your chest for the past 3 days. You slept poorly for no apparent reason. You woke up in the middle of the night staring at the ceiling, trying to understand a feeling that can't be put into words. You had a thought about someone you hadn't seen in years, and minutes later that person appeared. In a message, in a memory, in a repeated name. You felt like crying without knowing exactly why, or you felt disproportionate anger over something small, as if you were processing something much bigger than the immediate scene. This is not a coincidence, and it's not algorithmic chance either. Your field is reacting to something that hasn't happened on the calendar yet, but that has already begun to move in the invisible structure of your reality. In the following lines, we will name exactly what this is, what it demands of you, and what separates those who will cross this moment awake from those who will cross it asleep. Blaming tiredness, work, stress, for something that is actually much bigger than that. Because there are two groups of people facing what is about to open. The first group, the majority, will feel this energy with their body, but will process it with their old mind. They will say, "I'm tired, I'm stressed, it must be hormonal, it's just a bad phase." They will take a sleeping pill, they will distract their anxiety with endless screen scrolling, they will drown the signal in noise, and the window will close exactly as it closed before, without these people realizing that there was a door there. The second group is the minority, not because they are more special, but because they have developed at some point in their lives the necessary internal infrastructure to recognize a signal when it arrives. These people have stopped outsourcing discomfort to banal explanations. They know how to differentiate a bad day from a calling, and it is for this second group that this content has been built, because if you have reached this point, your body already knows which group it belongs to. And before continuing, I need to de-romanticize something that surface spirituality insists on selling. A portal is not an astronomical event that descends from the sky to rescue anyone. No one will be saved by a date on the calendar. A portal is, in practice, the turning point where the cost of remaining stuck in your current life finally becomes greater than the fear of taking the next step. It's pure, emotional mathematics. You don't receive clarity first and then act. You act first, even trembling, even without guarantees, and only then does the ground appear beneath your feet. Never before. Keep this sentence because it will be repeated in different ways throughout this content, and it is the key that separates those who wait for the sky and those who build with their own hands. Today, July 6th, is not just any day on the mystical calendar. It is the last territory of preparation before what many are calling the 7-7 portal. And here is the first misconception that needs to be corrected. Real spiritual work does not begin when the portal opens. It begins before in the invisibility of the previous day, when no one is looking, when there is no concrete proof that something is changing. It is precisely here, in this unwitnessed territory, that it is decided who will cross tomorrow with structure, and who will cross with only expectation. Think of an athlete before a decisive race. Victory is not built at the moment of the start. It was already decided in the silent training sessions, in the nights he went to bed early instead of going out, in the meals he chose when no one was measuring. July 6th is your silent training. It is the day when the universe begins to rearrange situations, people, and decisions for those who are willing to listen, not with their ears, but with full attention to what is moving beneath the surface of routine. This rearrangement, it is rarely dramatic. It shows up as a sudden urge to organize a drawer you've been ignoring for months. It shows up as a conversation you've been avoiding that suddenly feels urgent to have. It shows up as an exhaustion that isn't physical, but energetic, the body asking for silence because there's an internal processing happening in the background, like a computer running an update while you're trying to use the screen. If you felt this in the past few hours, it's no coincidence. It's the beginning of a purge that most will ignore, because they are too busy trying to control everything with their rational minds. And this is precisely where the second layer of this preparation comes in. Understanding why the universe always sends signals before major changes. No real transformation arrives without prior notice. Life doesn't work in cruel surprise mode. It works in echo mode. Before a physical earthquake, animals feel the Earth's vibrations minutes before humans notice anything. Before a storm, the air changes density. Silence settles in a different way. Birds disappear from the sky. Emotional life works exactly the same way. The synchronicities you've been noticing, repeated numbers, thoughts about people reappearing, dreams more vivid than usual, emotions surfacing without apparent triggers, are not random noise from the mind. They are the echo of a structural change that hasn't yet reached your physical reality, but is already reorganizing your energetic reality. There's a symbol that helps understand this phenomenon more clearly: Neptune retrograde. You don't need to understand technical astrology to grasp the essence. Neptune represents the veil, the layer of illusion, dream, and emotional fog that normally obscures human perception. When this veil begins to lift, what was hidden behind comfortable justifications starts to become visible. Relationships you rationalized as everything is fine begin to show real cracks. Jobs you tolerated out of fear start to feel unsustainable. Old patterns you repeated automatically start to hurt in a new way, because now you can see them clearly, and what is seen clearly can no longer be ignored without cost. Neptune retrograde doesn't create the illusion. It removes the illusion that already existed. And this usually hurts before it liberates, just like a bandage that needs to be removed before the wound can truly start to heal. This is precisely why tomorrow's shift won't operate on its own. It amplifies what is already in motion within you, but amplifying without structure is like giving a megaphone to someone who doesn't yet know what they want to say. That's why I prepared Magia em 28 Exercícios, as 28 Chaves do Despertar for you. It's no longer a spiritual theory course kept on a digital shelf. It's a 28-day journey, a full lunar cycle, designed to transform exactly this restlessness you feel now into clear language, the shadow that chases you into practical awareness, and the scattered signs you've been receiving into real decisions. If you've come this far feeling that something is moving but without knowing what to call it, this is the exact symptom that Magia em 28 Exercícios was built to solve. Comment pronto now in the first pinned comment. If you feel this window has already begun within you, this comment is not just a word, it's a declaration that you are willing to cross this turning point awake, not asleep like most. Returning to the internal structure of this preparation, there are 7 universal blocks that shut down a person's spiritual connection before any portal, and they have nothing to do with astrology. They have to do with human behavior repeated over generations. The first is ignoring intuition. It's that moment when the body already knows the answer before the mind finishes rationalizing, and yet the person chooses logic, safety instead of true impulse. Each time this happens, intuition becomes a little quieter, like a voice that stops insisting because it's never heard. The second block is living distracted. Not occasional distraction, but distraction as a lifestyle, filling every second of silence with screens, sounds, notifications, so as to never have to face what lies beneath. A portal cannot deliver any message to a mind that never stops spinning. The third is feeding fear as decision fuel. Deciding out of fear is deciding with your back to your own future, always reacting to the worst-case scenario instead of moving towards what truly matters. The fourth is clinging to the past as identity. Many people carry an old version of themselves as if it were armor, repeating stories of pain as a calling card, and this blocks any new energy from entering because there is no free space. The fifth is arguing out of habit, not necessity. Unnecessary fights at work, at home, on social media drain precisely the energy that should be available to pick up on subtler signals. The sixth is saturating the mind with noise. Too much information, too many opinions, too many news without any space for digestion. A saturated mind doesn't listen, it just reacts. And the seventh, perhaps the quietest of all, is distrusting one's own synchronicities. It is seeing the sign, feeling the shiver, and immediately dismissing it as coincidence for fear of seeming naive. This automatic dismissal is the fastest closing door because it teaches your own nervous system that signs do not deserve attention, and the universe stops insisting with those who have already shown they won't listen. Each of these 7 mistakes is a physical barrier between you and the guidance that is already trying to reach you right now. And the good news is that a barrier built by behavior can be dismantled by behavior. This is what the next layer is about. What to do today, concretely, to enter the portal with the correct vibration. The first practice is to observe real silence for a few minutes, not technical app meditation, just stopping, without screens, without sound, and letting the body process what it's feeling without immediate interpretation. The second is to write a clear intention by hand if possible, because the physical act of writing activates a part of the brain that a merely thought intention does not. The third is to observe this night's dreams with increased attention, because during this period the unconscious often brings clearer images than usual. Write them down as soon as you wake up, before the day's logic erases the details. The fourth is to thank specifically, not generally. Not thank you for life, but thank you for something exact that happened this week, because specific gratitude changes emotional frequency in a way that automatic gratitude does not. The fifth is to release pending emotions, an unhad conversation, swallowed anger, an unasked forgiveness. This can even be done without direct confrontation, simply by writing what needs to be said, and then burning or tearing the paper as a closing ritual. And the sixth is to meditate, even if for 5 minutes, focusing on the breath as an anchor between the physical body and the energy field that is reorganizing. None of these practices require blind faith. They only require consistent repetition, because frequency is not raised by an isolated gesture, it is raised by discipline. And it is precisely here that structure makes all the difference between doing it once and forgetting, or doing it for 28 days and actually transforming. Within Magia M28 Exercicios, each of these 6 practices gains its proper place, correct order, and daily support, because inspiration without structure dissolves in a week, and what you feel now deserves more than a week. Comment in the first pinned comment and secure your spot before this specific window closes. Quick decisions. In this type of turning point, always weigh more than postponed decisions. Once these 6 practices are overcome, it's important to understand what exactly this portal can bring to your life. And here comes another necessary demystification. Answers rarely arrive like a golden lightning bolt descending from the sky. They arrive through completely ordinary channels, an unexpected person getting in touch after years of silence, carrying exactly the missing piece of information. A decision made on impulse without apparent logic, which months later turns out to be the right decision. Repeating numbers, 1111, 22277, not as magic, but as a recurring reminder that you are being observed by an intelligence greater than your rational mind. Forgotten memories that return with force, bringing to light an abandoned talent, a version of yourself that was paused, and revealing dreams, sharper and more symbolic than usual, functioning as direct messages from the unconscious. The most important point here is this: the portal does not always change external circumstances immediately. First, it transforms the perception of the one who crosses it. You may wake up on July 7th with exactly the same life, the same job, the same house, the same people around, and still perceive everything in a completely different way. It is perception that changes first, and it is transformed perception that, over time, changes action, and it is action that finally changes circumstance. Whoever expects the external world to change before their own consciousness will spend the entire portal waiting for a sign that has actually already arrived, disguised as an internal change. And this is where retrograde Neptune reveals its deepest function, not as a complex astronomical phenomenon, but as a symbol of awakening itself. Neptune does not create confusion. It reveals the confusion that already existed, silenced out of convenience. Its energy invites one to distinguish with brutal honesty between the truth of the soul and the illusions fabricated by the ego. The ego builds comfortable stories. It's not time yet, maybe later. Things will resolve themselves. The soul, on the other hand, already knows what needs to be done. It just waits for the ego's noise to turn down enough to be heard. Retrograde Neptune is the master who breaks these illusions, not with violence but with relentless clarity. It shows the relationship that has already ended emotionally months ago, even if it still exists on paper. It shows the work that no longer serves the purpose of the one who occupies it. It shows fear disguised as prudence, and stagnation disguised as peace. And by showing it offers the only thing that truly matters, the chance to choose again, with eyes wide open. But choosing again, alone, without a map, is the reason why so many people feel this calling and then return to the same old routine within a few days. Not out of weakness, but out of a lack of a supportive structure. It was precisely for this point that Magia M28 Exercicios was designed. 28 days, a full lunar cycle, to transform what Neptune reveals into practical and permanent direction, instead of letting this revelation evaporate, as happens with most spiritual turning points that lack follow-up. This is the difference between feeling the call and responding to it with real consequence. If you have recognized in recent weeks any specific illusion falling before your eyes, this is precisely the moment to act, because the clarity that Neptune offers has an expiration date, and without a structure, it will dissolve back into the old routine in a few days. The first pinned comment has all the details waiting for you, and this decision, made now, is the type of decision that separates those who truly cross the portal from those who merely watch it pass. And we arrive then at the decision that truly defines how you will live the 7-to-7 portal. Here is the final truth, unvarnished. The portal does not automatically change anyone's life. It amplifies the consciousness of those who arrive prepared, and also amplifies the stagnation of those who arrive scattered. The true door that opens tomorrow is not in the sky, among aligned stars and planets. It is within each person who decides today to treat this day as real preparation and not as passive expectation. The way you live this July 6th, the silence you choose to keep, the intention you choose to write, the emotion you choose to release instead of swallow, will determine precisely the depth of the experience you will go through tomorrow. No one else can do this preparation for you. No portal, however powerful, replaces the personal decision to awaken to one's own process. And what you have heard up to this point was exactly this: preparation. The final revelation of what this turning point truly means for your new timeline is in the video that is now appearing on your screen. Click on it. The first 60 seconds will completely change the way you understand everything that has been said so far. And if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, understand one thing clearly. Each video here is not isolated content. It is a coordinate within a larger map, the map of the year, the map of energetic windows, the map that connects this portal to the next. Without subscribing, you only receive loose fragments of this map. The next videos show exactly what happens after this window closes, and missing this sequence is missing the entire context of your journey. Write now in the comments the date that weighs most on your field at this moment, the 6th of the 7th, the 7th of the 7th, or the 12th of the 7th, because this answer, alone, is already the first step for those who have decided to cross this turning point awake and not asleep.